STEM fans, are you ready? Let's hear it for the world-class NASA STEM Stars team. From NASA centers across the country, we present Barbara Brown. Hello, STEM fans, and welcome to NASA STEM Stars, where you connect firsthand with NASA engineers, scientists, and innovators. My name is David Alexander, and I'm from the Armstrong Flight Research Center, and today we are celebrating our 80th episode and connecting with our special guest, Barbara Brown, who's actually going to speak about her important role as NASA's Director of Exploration Research and Technology Programs at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. So, Barbara, welcome to NASA STEM Stars. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, David. How are you?
I'm doing awesome as usual. We really appreciate you spending time with us. And for everyone on STEM Stars at the moment, as you know, throughout the season, we've spoken with several of NASA's finest subject matter experts, technologists, and even interns about their unique opportunities here at the agency. And overall, each experience or career has been very unique. So, Barbara, your amazing career is no different. Can you elaborate a little bit on your work at the agency?
Sure, David. I've been in many different roles within NASA. I've been an engineer, I've been a scientist, a manager. Right now, my role is helping to get experiments, supplies, whatever's needed to go up to the International Space Station. We process that under me and the team of people that I work with. I'm also involved in helping to plan and lead the research and technology development that we do here in Florida at the Kennedy Space Center.
Wow, that's pretty fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the research that your team is working on?
Sure. When we think about going back to the moon and Mars, one of the things that we know we have to do is have food. So part of my team is doing research associated with crops for food. We just recently had an experiment on Space Station. We've had chili peppers growing there. Some of the astronauts were able to grow the seeds and actually harvest the peppers. It's a big challenge to figure out how to grow seeds and crops in space. So that's some of the research. We're also looking at research, thinking about what to do with the trash that we develop or create as we're traveling to the moon or Mars. When we have that trash, we need to think about what to do with it. So our team is looking at methods, ways to actually take the trash and convert it into products that we can use. Products like oxygen, water, and maybe even fuel. We're doing other research too, such as instruments that would help us look for water once we get to the moon, and also technologies and new ways of taking the soil or the regolith, as it's called, that's on the surface of the moon, and using it to build what we need, whether it's launch pads or whether it's roads or even houses or habitats.
Wow, that's fantastic. So let's take a step back here for a moment. My question here is when you were a little girl, did you always actually dream of working at NASA?
Always. From the time I was probably 7 or 8 years old, I knew I wanted to work for NASA. I don't think my parents really knew how to help make that happen, but they said they were going to prepare me. And that was to make sure I got the right education that I needed and other development, knowing how to communicate, how to listen, how to comprehend, all those things. They put a big focus on my education, making sure that I was prepared.
So overall, your parents must have had a pretty big impact in terms of your academics.
They did. It's interesting because during the year when I was in school, my family, my siblings, we were in school. It was
Hmm.
all about the homework, But even in the summers when we were off, my mom and dad still had us in classes. We had to read articles. And at the dinner table at night, they would take turns asking questions, what we'd read and what did we understand about it. And they would ask us, what if, why do you think this happened? What do you think would happen if you did something different? So they had a big part to play in my preparation. And I have to say that the family values really helped prepare me for NASA because my parents were all about excellence and teamwork and integrity and being safe. And it just turned out those are the values, NASA's core values. So they really did prepare me in all aspects.
Wow, that is a very awesome tradition. Now, let me ask you this. So, you, as a child, always dreamed of working at NASA, and right now you've actually been at NASA for over 30 years, which is a pretty long period of time and rich history. What would you say is your most memorable experience?
My most memorable, and I've had many. I've been blessed to, to be on the launch pad, to sit in the pilot seat in the shuttle. But I was inspired by Star Trek and the crew that I saw on Star Trek. Lieutenant Uhura, who was played by Nichelle Nichols, really made me believe that I could work for NASA. And I
Hmm.
was awarded a medal, an Exceptional Service Medal, and NASA
Ah.
awarded me, and she presented it. Nichelle Nichols actually hung this medal around my neck at the award ceremony. It was really an emotional, spectacular event for me.
Wow, that is a beautiful medal and well worth it for all your hard work altogether. And from my understanding, uh, there's a bit of history on this. And Nichelle Nichols, at one point in time, she felt that she didn't want to play the role in Star Trek. And what's important to note here is, and not a lot of people know this, is that Martin Luther King actually spoke to her and encouraged her to take that role because it was going to encourage so many other people such as yourself, and it definitely worked because you're a director at NASA for us to be able to see ourselves in that character for the future. So that is an amazing memorable experience, definitely, for sure. So how did you feel when you got the award? I mean, did you treat yourself on a vacation? I mean, I would have gone to Disney World or something.
I didn't treat myself to anything special. What was really neat about it is I got to talk to my parents about it and thank them for the dedication, for the times when I didn't want to do homework and didn't want to study, and they said, no, this is what we're providing for you, for the job as a child to learn. The exciting thing that I did, and I don't have the picture available, but I wanted to take a picture after the ceremony with Nichelle Nichols, and it was so amazing because I was so excited and was, oh my gosh, will you take a picture of me with me? And could hear her behind me saying to someone, oh my gosh, would you take a picture of us together? So it was just really a special occasion. I can't just describe how it made me feel to have one of my role models
Yeah.
and an idol there who I was completely impressed with her and her being a trailblazer. And she was looking at being at NASA at us being the trailblazer. So it was really nice.
Absolutely. You definitely built your career from family values to pop culture, which helped catalyze your career. You definitely have a good foundation here. Now, let's just switch gears here for a moment and talk a little bit more about your education. What did you get your degree in?
My undergraduate degree was in computer science from Florida State University in Seminoles. And I have a Master of Industrial Engineering from the University of Central Florida. And I also am a Senior Executive Fellow. I came out of Harvard Kennedy School of Government.
Wow, that's really cool. And those are a lot of variety of experiences. How do you think this coursework that you took actually prepared you for a career at NASA?
So it's clear that the mathematics, the science, the engineering classes prepared me. What I did not realize until I became a cooperative education student, which is just a fancy word of saying that NASA brought me on as a college intern and let me work with NASA as an intern. What I didn't fully appreciate until I interned was how important all those other classes were. English, for example, the ability to be able to comprehend what was written, to be able to write technical information and communicate it. Business classes about budgeting, how that plays a role in what we do. So my first internship helped me develop a greater appreciation of how important all of my college classes were.
Hmm. Did you struggle with any subjects when you were in school?
I actually didn't. I was thinking back the other day to, I was mentoring some students, and they were saying how hard it was, and I didn't understand. It made me think back to when I was in middle school. I liked math. I liked science. I was a little bit of a teacher's pet in the math class because I got math. But what I started doing was wanting to be one of the cool kids, right? I knew I wanted to work for NASA, but that was considered to be, you're a nerd. And I would hear all the time, Barbara, you're too cool to be a nerd. And I started to hang out with some kids that were not really doing the right things in school. And the one time I got in trouble for following along with them, I remember those same kids that wanted me to get in trouble were the first ones to talk about, Barbara got in trouble. And so talking with my parents, they made it clear to me, this is why you have to kind of march to your own drum. And I decided then that I had to think about what I really wanted out of life and what was important to me and what made me happy. And that was going down that path where I was focused on my math and science and getting good grades and paying attention. Mm-hmm. So I started to realize then it wasn't worth the struggle of trying to fit in with the kids. I really wanted to do what made sense to me. And that's where I kind of made that departure to, hey, I'm just going to go for what is important to me.
Going for the gold, and you got that medal, which is definitely definitely important for you there to get that. So here's the thing. I was basically wondering, we have some questions here from students online, and they basically want to know what made you decide on getting your degree in computer science?
I was watching a movie at age 17, and my parents were worried because I could not decide what I wanted to do for my career. Up until then, they called me Jethro. For those who know the show The Beverly Hillbillies, Jethro was the character who wanted to do a little bit of everything, and I did. I wanted to be a singer. I wanted to act. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a semi-truck driver. I'm fascinated with learning how to do any and everything. And so they thought I was a little late in deciding what my focus in college would be. And I was watching a movie, Charles Bronson movie called Telethon, and they walked into a big room with a computer server farm, and I looked at my sister and I said, that's what I'm going to do first. So that's how I started on my degree in computer science.
That's awesome. There was a student who was wondering about International Space Station and alluding towards the crops that are on station. They wanted to know, is hydroponics going to be important? Going to be an important part of space exploration in the future for our astronauts?
That's a great question. And yes, hydroponics is very important. One of the challenges, if you think about being in space where there's no gravity, when you go to water plants on space station, the water floats. We don't have that problem on Earth. So we want to get nutrients to the roots of the crops, but that's part of the research. What's the best way to do that? So that is a very important piece of the research that's going on.
Very good. And the follow-up question was, is it possible for growing organic hydroponics altogether? And you pretty much elaborated on it. It is possible.
Again, the challenge is once we get the nutrients into whatever that solution is, how do you get it to the right part of the root zone? You don't want to overwater part of the zone. You don't want to underwater. So that's the part of the technique, the research. What's the best way to get those nutrients to the roots?
I really appreciate your candor and your story about your family foundation, academics, and things externally which have shaped you to be the person today. And in terms of NASA, we always recognize our best. We always recognize the brightest, and especially for those individuals that have gone beyond their duty with serving the public and the mission. So, have you ever won any other medals, or have you ever been recognized for any other additions to your hard work?
I have received other recognitions. I've received an Outstanding Leadership Medal. That's one of the picture you see there, and that was our Center Director at the
Uh huh.
time, Bob Cabana, former astronaut, and our current Center Director now, Janet Petro. She was the Deputy Director in this picture.
Hmm.
And the awards and recognitions are great. We appreciate them when we get them. But, the interesting thing is and most people who come to NASA, we don't do it because we're thinking about the recognition. We do it because we really want to be a part of the solution. We want to help advance space exploration. We want to make it relevant to our
Hmm.
nation. A lot of the things that we do that are needed for exploration, such as miniaturized electronics, those are
Yes.
things that NASA needed, but they get spun off into everyday technologies that benefit everyone.
Hmm.
So that's really why most of us are here. We're just so excited about being able to contribute. I mean, a lot of people would pay to be able to do what we do, so we get to do it for a living. It's wonderful.
Absolutely. I wouldn't trade my career for anything. That's for sure. You have an impressive list of accomplishments, my friend. I can see how your education as well as your experience led you to truly become one of our senior leaders here at the agency. Um, Now, how about we actually put your competitive edge to the test, Barbara? We have a really cool, unique challenge here on NASA STEM Stars. It's our lightning round, and I'm going to ask you a few rapid fire questions, and you give me one word responses. So let's see how many questions you can answer in 30 seconds. So, Barbara, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Time for NASA STEM Stars Lightning Round.
All right, so we've got
I'm
30
nervous, David.
seconds. Oh, don't worry about it. We've only got 30 seconds on the clock here, and you have the opportunity to at least get 10 or more questions answered. So it looks like we have Doug Hoffman, Tiffany Alexander, and Nikki dominating the leaderboard with 10 questions to beat that everybody can see here on the screen. So, Barbara, are you ready? And
Ready.
let's put 30 seconds on the clock. All right, pencil or paper? Oh, sorry, pen or pencil?
Pencil.
Talker or texter?
I didn't hear you.
Talker or texter?
Talker.
City or country?
Country.
Introvert or extrovert?
Extrovert.
Comedy or horror?
Comedy.
Pickles or pizza?
Pickles.
Slug. Oh, wow. Okay, looks like we got a few, but we didn't quite make the board on this end. Probably just because of the digital delay today on this end. But to show in the chat some love, give some thumbs up, some emojis in the chat to show our appreciation for her all together. So we always love the competitive edge of Lightning Round on this end. Speaking of things that we do outside of our careers, like fishing or hiking, do you have any other hobbies or maybe volunteer in your spare time?
Yes, I actually love volunteering. My parents were big on that. They started us at an early age. I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and this photo is from one of the Habitat for Humanity bills that we supported. I like tools and technology, so I was operating the saw. I
Hmm.
mentor. I work in food drives. I like doing a little bit of everything. Wherever I'm needed, I like to be able to help out. And
Hmm.
what was the rest of your question?
Just was wondering if you had any other special hobbies or anything that you wanted to share with us.
Well, my hobbies are somewhat varied. My latest hobby has been kayaking. I fell in love with it about 3 years ago. But I
Hmm.
have many hobbies. I like singing, biking, playing volleyball. It just
Oh,
depends. I like fishing. But kayaking is my latest.
okay, very good. Altogether, have you traveled anywhere special or anywhere memorable that you would like to share with us?
So traveling is one of my hobbies. And it's kind of funny that picture you see of me standing on the rock. I was outside the Coliseum and did not realize. I noticed in a very, how would I say, looking back over places I had traveled, I noticed I had a tendency to pose as a statue almost everywhere I went. So it's kind of funny because one of my nephews is doing the same thing now. But
Ah, that's
I've been to Paris, Rome, South Africa, all over the Caribbean. I've been to many places in the U.S. and have many more to go. I've been to Canada. I believe that that's one of the goals in life for me to see as many places I can, have as many experiences with new cultures. So I love traveling.
all right. Well, let's keep the tempo fun here. I have a question here from a student. Basically indicates from Creative Sophia, what is the best thing about working at NASA?
There are so many. The best thing for me is that I get to be a part of America's space program. As a little kid, I would literally go outside and look up at the stars and wonder what's out there. And I would look when we'd go to the beach, I'd look and wonder about people across the ocean, what were they doing and why they were doing. So for me, being a part of the space program, I get to combine all of that curiosity about exploring, and I can contribute in my own way when I'm needed, where I'm needed. There's nothing better for me.
Yeah. Is this a space launch that you attended here? Looks like an Atlantis
This is
shuttle here.
actually at the end of the shuttle program. Atlantis had returned from the last
Hmm.
mission and was being rolled back into the vertical or vehicle assembly building. And we were allowed to go out as employees and take some photos. I actually got to sit in Atlantis before its last flight. And so it just meant a lot to
Oh.
me to be there to watch it roll back in at the close of the program. It was poignant for us. You know, we were excited about all of the accomplishments that we made. It was somewhat sad to see the program end, but we were also excited about what came next, and that's what we're doing now, pushing on to back to the moon and on to Mars.
Hmm. Very cool. And you're a very, very special person here at the agency. I even understand that you were featured in Vogue's online magazine. Is that correct?
That was a pretty cool thing to happen. Vogue wanted to highlight some of the women of NASA at the Kennedy Space Center. I mentioned that I've been in many different roles. One of my roles was being a researcher. And when we think about Star Trek, for example, how the vehicle knows how to diagnose itself when something breaks, it can work autonomously, we call it, with little
Uh-huh.
to no human intervention. And my area of research was looking at how to fuel vehicles. You think about pulling your car up to a gas station to fuel it. Well, we have our rockets and we have them out at our launch pads. And right now we have teams of people that help to fuel that vehicle. So my
Hmm.
line of research was focused on how to help a system, a vehicle, fuel itself and to work around any problem that might happen. And so for Vogue's recognition of me, they wanted me in the environment where I had conducted some of my research. And I'm standing in the middle of what we call our cryogenics test bed. Cryogenics just means it's super cold fuel. Some of the temperatures get down below minus 200. And
Hmm.
that's some of the vapors coming up from the system.
Wow. Last question here. These are obviously challenging times right now. especially with our students who are trying to figure out what type of career path that they would like to commit to. So, what advice would you give to a student or students who are out there who are really uncertain about pursuing a STEM career or a career in technology?
The main thing I would say is don't be afraid of technology. Um, some things are more challenging than others. It depends what it is. Some things are challenging for me, some are not at all. But life is full of challenges. So I would not let the fact that technology, some people think it's more difficult. I wouldn't let that stop me. Obviously, I didn't. I heard the same thing when I was in middle school, that it was going to
Hmm.
be too hard for me to work for NASA, too hard for me to get the degrees I needed, and that wasn't true. So the advice that I give is the same advice that my parents and my mentors gave me. Believe you can do whatever you want to do. Now, when you believe that, that means you also have to dedicate the time that you need to put in to get the education and develop the knowledge that you need so that you can contribute. The other thing that my parents taught me was always have a plan B, plan C, plan D. What they were teaching me and my siblings is that it's okay to fail sometimes. You might try, you may not always succeed right away. But if you fail, you have to use that knowledge from the failure to help find the path to success. So that's just a part of my belief. Don't give up. Don't go quietly. Keep fighting.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that insight. Looks like we are just about out of time for today, but before we go, we have a student challenge for you. So we're challenging you to design and build a model of a space habitat using the engineering design process. We'll provide a link for you there. And we want for you to engage in this activity, complete your work, and we want for you to share it with us at hashtag NextGenSTEM. So, two more things before we wrap up. I want to say thank you so much, Barbara, for being on our show today. It means a lot to me. It was great to talk to you, and learn more about your amazing work and the great things that we do here at NASA. Lastly, please join us for our next STEM Stars on November 10th at 2 p.m. Eastern, where we're going to talk a little bit more about Orion and systems integration test engineer Chelsea Partridge. Now, how do you become a cool and savvy test engineer? Well, you got to tune in next week and find out. So, to everyone, thank you all for attending. Please don't forget to subscribe, and we'll definitely see you all next time. Take care and have a wonderful day. Take care.